found this good murder mystery, and it's been a lot of updates on it. Not like 3 days ago on this case. Let me start at the beginning of this case back in 2022. This is what the story read in 2022. Cold case: who murdered Donna Wayne in Aurora in 1986? Now, this story was updated back in December 2022. You might remember the story. You can leave notes, comments. Denver, Colorado. There are hundreds of unsolved homicide cases, long-term missing person cases, unidentified remains cases in Colorado where at least 3 years have passed since crimes happened. Now, Colorado Cold Case Task Force had created a list of these cold cases dating back to the 1970s. The problem solvers are working to highlight the cold cases in their state. So, who murdered Donna Sue Wayne? Well, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Aurora Police Department, are working to solve a cold case from 36 years ago. Well, it's more than that now. Now, the CIB said that on June 14th, 1986, Donna Sue Wayne went to a party with her friends. After the party, she told her friends she was going to Sag Nasty Bar on East 4th and Avenue on Havana Street in Aurora. Now, during that investigation, police learned Wayne drove her car to the party and bar. She was last seen leaving the bar with 3 men. Nearly 2 weeks later, Wayne's car was found at 1061 North Uvalde Street, but she was nowhere to be found. Months later, after Wayne went missing, her body was found near East 38th Avenue in North Picadillo Road, which is more than 8 miles from where her car was found and more than 10 miles from where she was last seen. Now, CBI said there were reports that Wayne may have been seen trying to escape from a vehicle near that road, but the man inside of the car kept pulling her back in. To this day, the case of Wayne remains unsolved. No suspects. Information has been released, if anyone knows. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, to the next story of this case. It's been so far oh crap. I'll do that for her. No, cancel. So now on this one, here's the rest of the story, what the police have found on this one. And Aurora police used fingerprints and DNA to identify the suspect in 18-year-old unsolved 1986 abduction murder. Now, the man now facing charges has been behind bars for decades after being convicted of killing another woman in Aurora 7 months later. So, as of November 5th, 2025, now, Aurora, Colorado, fingerprints and DNA evidence in this unsolved 1986 murder case of a young woman, and Aurora lead detectives to a man already serving 40 years to life, prison sentence in another killing. Investigators has learned a judge has signed arrest warrant for Ricky Sovoff, I think it is, 65, in June of 1986, murdering Donna Sue Wayne, an 18-year-old who vanished under mysterious circumstances. Now, according to this, a man driving along that particular road where they found her car later stopped to look at something in the field and discover her badly decomposed body. It doesn't surprise me said longtime Adam County prosecutor. Jill, it makes me sad and sorry. The saddest prosecute the guy. I can't say his name, but we know it's Ricky. So for January 1987, Norma Jean Hudson, a 40-year-old woman who was grabbed as she walked home from the nightclub, severely beaten and sexual assault. He falls into that small percentage of predators that frighten us the most, grabs a stranger, virtually stranger, and brutalizes them. Status told 9 News investigate Hudson's killing occurred about 7 months after Wayne left her Aurora home in her green 1974 LTD. Well, that's her car right there. Plans to meet two friends. Now, early the next morning, June 14th, 1986, Morris driving north on 600 block, comes upon a green sedan and a woman struggling to get out of the passenger door. A man inside the car grabbed her and pulled her back in. According to court documents obtained, the woman screamed, "Help me, help me." The motorist drove to the nearest home and called 911. But when Aurora police officer arrived, the green car and the 2 people were gone. That was what he looked like in the sketch. The witness described as a man Caucasian in the late 20s with a thin build, wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, and roughly complexion. A composite draw based on her was the first lead investigation. The day a woman in Hoffman's Heights neighbor in Aurora saw a green LTD parked across the street from her home, and little more than a week later, it was still there, and she called the police. The car was Wayne's, and the driver's side window had been rolled down, but after the detective raised it up, he was able to lift multiple fingerprints from the outside of the glass, and it appeared, according to the court documents, that someone sitting in the driver's seat had pulled the door shut and left the fingerprints on the windows. Now, July 14th, 1986, exactly a month after Wayne was last seen, a man driven in a 3800 block of that road found Wayne's body, decomposed body. Although it was impossible to determine exactly how Wayne died, or rather, she was sexual assault. It was obvious she has been severely beaten. Her jaw, several ribs were broken, but the investigators soon installed, and for years, detectives were unable to locate fingerprints taken off the driver's window of Wayne's LTD. In 2009, a fingerprint examiner found them in files in Royal Crime Lab. A check of the FBI National Fingerprint Database did not yield a match, but to follow up in 2013 did. 2 of the prints, according to the court documents, matches Ricky here. There's Ricky right there, Ricky Dean. So the detective interviewed Ricky in 2014, but he denied any involvement in Wayne's death. Then in 2024, new DNA testing found partial genetics profile jeans Wayne was wearing that night she vanished, now facing murder, kidnapping charges in Wayne's death. So Ricky was arrested. Record goes back to the burglary, busted in 1978. According to the records obtained by News 9, he went to prison in 1982 after a burglary conviction and was paroled in March 1986. Now, this is what he looks like now today, compared to young and old. The fall of Ricky went back to prison after his parole was revoked following another arrest, but he was held less than a month before he was again paroled in December of 1986. Houston was murdered January 18th, 1987. 10 days later, Aurora police arrested him in Houston killing, and he's been behind bars ever since. So, there you go. That's kind of interesting story. They're using the DNA and fingerprints, after all, catching the killer of two people back in 1980s. And glad he was in prison for the rest of his life, and he's going to be there more charges, and he ain't getting out, it seems like. So, hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. I'll find another